Hallelujah. My name is Evangelist Vivian Patrick, and you're welcome this week to Monday Reality Talk Show. Very quickly this week, I want to draw your attention to things you shouldn't do when someone is not your spec. We're talking about when someone is not your spec, it means you are not interested in that person. You don't want to. The person is not your desire. Hallelujah. The first thing you shouldn't do when someone is not your spec, never lead anybody on. As a guy, as a lady, when you know deep down inside that this person asking you out is not your spec, do not lead them on. So many persons make the mistake of leading people on, giving them false hope that we are in this together. Meanwhile, they are very far from each other. When you lead people on, they have this hope that something can happen, we can build a future together. But deep down inside of your mind, you know that this person is not your spec. Now, as a lady, when a guy is not your spec, please don't demand from him. Stop collecting money, gifts, when he is not your spec. Not when he is ready to build something serious with you, then you come up with, you are not my spec. This is not the kind of man I want to have as a husband. So when he is not your spec, please reject his gift. His gift should not be your spec. His money should not be your spec. So when you say someone is not my spec, you shouldn't receive gifts and money, because when you receive gifts and money, you are leading them on, giving them first hope that something can come up. So thirdly, when someone is not your spec as a lady or as a guy, do not ask them that they should give you time to pray. The truth of the issue is, sometimes when we ask for time, most especially as ladies or as guys, when we ask for time to pray, sometimes we have the answer deep down in our mind. We already know what we want to say, what our response will be. So when someone is not your spec and you don't think you are going to pray over it, some of the time for prayer, sincerely, some persons don't pray, because even before they pray, they have the answer in their mind. So when someone is not your spec, please don't get jealous of their private life. You know you don't want to engage yourself in a relationship with a guy or with a lady, but you easily get jealous when you see them do some things and it gets to you. The question is, are you in or out? So these things you shouldn't do when you know that someone is not your spec. That even if God is telling you that this person is the one, you will still argue with God himself, and you will find it very difficult to admit that this is what God is saying. So when someone is not your spec, don't lead them on. Don't receive gifts, their money from them. And thirdly, when someone is not your spec, do not give them false hope. And lastly, I want to address the issue of when someone is not your spec, please respect their decision, respect their choice. Your spec, what you want in a man, how you want a man to behave, means that this is the kind of man you want. So when you know that she is not the kind of lady you want, and he is not the kind of man you want, please do not enter into the relationship with them with empty promises. So many persons make empty promises to those they know deep down they are not their spec. And as I round this up, I want you to know that sometimes you build your spec. You develop what you want to see in your woman, what you want to see in your man. These things might not be present from the very beginning. These things might not be available from the very beginning. But do you know, in relationship, we build to what we want to see. Relationship is not a selfish desire. It is a collective work of effort. So that man may not look like what you want, but if God is saying he's the one, if God is saying she's the one, my dear brothers and sisters, you can build and mold your woman to become that person you want her to be, to become that very spec you have in mind. It all has to do with determination and seeing beyond what you are seeing now. Some of us, we can only see the now, but we cannot see the future. And that is why the designing spirit is very important, not just for the spiritual journey, but for every journey of life. As you begin to look into these things, I see God blessing you, and I see God helping you this week. I see you doing well, and I see your life becoming more beautiful again. Stay blessed. See you next week.